All right, guys, it is a little bit after market open. We were busy this morning running some errands, but it looks like we had a massive move. You've probably already seen this, but we had this massive move here after the CPI print was released. So as soon as that comes out, bots pick it up and they immediately bid, or they immediately close their shorts or start market buying, and you get these huge reactions here. I mean, this was like massive, about a 130 point move for the NASDAQ. And now we're sitting here just kind of consolidating a little bit. I guess you could say we're just kind of digesting that move. But guys, we are on an absolute tear right now. We've been talking about this for the last few weeks. I look at this in many different ways. This is a confirmed breakout, obviously, on the NASDAQ. It's been confirmed. It was confirmed last week, right? Last Friday, you got a breakout above this trend line, and then it retested and broke out. If you're a swing trader, that was really your signal. I don't really swing trade equities that much right now because of the crypto market doing so well. I'd rather put my capital to use there. But that was a really good swing trade. And I think people that are in that from here, they probably don't have anything to worry about. I mean, I think these dips, we'll definitely get some kind of dip in my opinion. But the question is going to be, how much is it really going to want to give you dip-wise? The genie is kind of out of the bottle here. Like, we all know that equity prices are just going to keep going up at this point. So dips are kind of seen as opportunities. And when everybody sees dips as an opportunity, you really just don't get one. And this is why Bitcoin has had such a hard time falling down, is why should it give you a dip if everybody wants to buy it? And you may be wondering, well, why do you think that from a fundamental basis? Well, I don't think that from a fundamental basis. I think this is all technicals. I don't think that fundamentals really matter when it comes to the stock market when you go into a seasonally bullish period like the end of the year going into the holiday season. Markets like to go up. We talked about this last week, that you really have to look at this market like a teenager that just kind of does its own thing, even if it's not in their best interests. Like they're just going to go up at this point. Like, should they? I mean, you can make a case that they shouldn't fundamentally. But technically speaking, there is nothing wrong with this market, and people are just going to see this as an opportunity to make money going into the end of the year. Again, it might be like a naive teenager that is like going out and being reckless, but it's just going to do that. And I think people need to understand that this will go a lot higher potentially before you actually find some real sellers that really put a lid on this thing, because most people are not actually long this market right now. Believe it or not, if you actually look at some of the data that we look at least, which is like data that shows like global equity exposure, it is way down. Way down. Now you may be wondering, well, how are the prices up? Well, because there's people buying, but a lot of the big firms do not have a lot of assets on their balance sheet. Believe it or not, they were short, mega short, this entire rally, or I'm sorry, this entire down move here. And now they're getting blown out of their shorts like hedge funds. And you're really at the stage now where this is going to get, you're already at the FOMO stage because people realize they've missed the dip. That's it. They're not going to get another one going into the end of the year. And at this point, bears are praying that they get a dip. I mean, and it's not looking good for the bears here, because what's going to stop this from making new all-time highs? I don't know. I really don't know. I think, of course, when it gets there, and yes, I'm saying that it probably gets there at this point. Is it December? Is it early next year? I don't know. But what's going to really stop it from going higher at this point? What information is going to change the market's mind? And the answer is, I don't know. I mean, you've already gotten through really the worst things I could think of that would have hurt the market, which was the treasury auctions. We had that in late October into early November that absolutely devastated the markets. It really did not like yields going up. Well, that's out of the way. Not that they can't go higher, but you're not going to have any more auctions like that, or you're not going to have as many auctions at around the same time to make yields go crazy. Doesn't mean that the Fed can't say something to make yields go up, but at this point, is the market even going to listen to Jerome Powell? I mean, if he comes out now and is like, hey, forget what I said last FOMC, is the market really going to believe him? Like, probably not. Like, they're probably not going to believe him. It realizes that, yeah, he does not like this. He clearly does not like this market going up. But the cat's out. The genie is out of the bottle. Okay, or is that even the phrase, or is it the cat's out of the bag? Am I getting those backwards? Anyway, we all know, like, the jig is up. We all know what's going on here. Like, he cannot talk this market down. He's already said what he said last meeting, and people are just not going to take him serious. So what I'm saying is, bears are in trouble here. They're going to need some kind of economic data, and it's funny because they need actually good news at this point to actually make the market go down. So I mean, it's just a worst case scenario for bears, and it's like the best case scenario for bulls because every pullback is a technical pullback that gets bought, right? So the first one on my watch list for like NASDAQ is like somewhere in here. Hold on one second. Somewhere like around, what is this, 15.5. It gets bought. I mean, structurally, this is insanely bullish, okay? And again, I'm not even here to tell you that this is fundamentally correct. I'm actually saying that this is probably going to end in tears, but you're probably going to be a lot higher before it ends in tears. That's the irony of it, is this is how blow-off tops are made, and it looks like that's what we're going into, is a seasonally bullish rally into the end of the year where people are playing catch-up. They don't want to call their clients and say, hey, our XYZ firm made you no money this year, and you could have just bought in the NASDAQ and made this much money, right? They're gonna try really hard to beat the NASDAQ. They're gonna try really hard to beat the S&P 500. And the only way they can do that, and this is why you're getting these small cap stocks here ripping today up. You know, the Russell 2000's up like 430 basis points, is because that's how you beat them. These things are probably going to go, you know, nuclear to the upside, I think. Mainly because, like, if you're buying NASDAQ, if you're buying big tech stocks, yes, you're going to do well probably going into the end of the year. I don't know why they would go down. But if you want something that's at a discount that's still significantly undervalued, maybe relative to tech stocks, it's these small caps that are in like the Russell 2000. And I could be wrong, but I think that's why you're seeing this huge rally. Again, is it logical? It doesn't have to be, and this is why a lot of people don't do well, you know, in the investing world and in the trading world when they try to trade by what's logical and what's fundamentally correct, and you'll never make money like that in the short term. The only way that you can actually trade like that is over the long term, and these are painful rallies here if that's how you're trading. If you're trading on logic and reason and fundamentals, you are short because all of that reason and logic would have said short. And a lot of these guys are short, and they're going to be in trouble for it. And then eventually they'll be correct, but they'll be so damn underwater that they probably had a margin call or had to buy. I mean, that's the irony of a bear's, you know, the challenge of being a bear in this market that just wants to go up. Like, and it's really funny when you think about it. They're shorting this market that just really likes to go up. It doesn't like to go down. And I'm laughing just because I know people that are short, and they think that they're really smart now, and you know, and they're Michael Burry. They're catching the next big short. And you're just not. You're really just getting in the way of monkey minds that are just gonna buy because that's what they think they should do, and you should not fight the market. Anyway, I can ramble about that for hours because I think it's just amazing to see people continually fade. Like, the price action has been telling you it's been wanting to go up since here. Since the lows, there has been at no point where this market had really looked bearish. Now, when we broke down below here, and on the ES, maybe it's a little bit more clear. When we broke down below here, yeah, it started to look a little bit bearish. But as soon as it popped back up, you should have known, okay, that was your technical retest of this breakout here. And it has been up only since. So, again, I'm rambling, but people need to realize that you have to go with the flow with this market. It wants to go up. I cannot say that enough. You have to look at it like, again, like a teenager that is doing things that's probably not in his best interest. It's not logical. It's not reasonable. I get it. All of the fundamentals say that stocks should be going down, but they're not. And I think at some point they probably will, but they're going to be so much higher probably before that actually takes place. And people are going to be upset that they didn't just left curve it and just look at the chart and say, look, bullish chart, let's buy some more. Is that financial advice? No. But I'm talking about this from a trading perspective. I think investors have very little to gain from this if they're trying to keep these, if they're going to keep these stocks over years, like 3-4 years. I don't actually know if that's a good investment here. I'm not like a professional investor. So I could be completely wrong, but I just don't see that this market has a tremendous upside in the short term based off of the real issues that are actually fundamentally there, right? But it doesn't matter in a 1-2 year window. I mean, people don't understand that things are about positioning and technicals most of the time. People want to make money going into the end of the year so they can come to their Christmas party and tell everybody how they made their big bonus on Wall Street. I mean, that's really what this is. And the quicker people realize that you have to just tune out all the YouTube bearish, analysis about how the world's ending, the better. Because this is really good trading opportunities for people like me. And maybe for people like you, if you're a trader. Anyway, that's a rant there. So Bitcoin is still pulling back here. I really like that it's pulling back. So actually, wow, as soon as we flipped over to Bitcoin, you got a pretty decent pullback, like while we're actually recording this video. So we're at this 35K level. As you can see, you're touching my first level of support. We're going to want to see a reaction there. Or actually, I'm sorry, this is 36. We're going to want to see a reaction there or at 35. Okay. Now, you may be wondering, where am I getting all these levels? These levels are based off of volume profile, so these are where your whales are at. Okay. So you got a volume shelf that really starts to pick up around 35, meaning if you get there, you should see some whales protect their positions, add to their positions. And the reason why we have a line here at 36 is because, you failed to break out over that a couple times. Eventually, you flip it into support. Usually, it's going to hold. But I am actually expecting that this might go to this 35 level. If you get under that 35 level, that's when you want to be more cautious. Because then you're kind of nearing your last line of defense, which would be this 33.5 area. Like, you wouldn't want to see it go below that area, to be honest, because you're probably going to gap down. You could just break it and then come back above it, but that's, when you wouldn't want to be like you wouldn't want to short or be like super worried. I'm just saying this is when you have to really start being more careful, because that's a big gap right there. I mean, if it doesn't hold, you have a lot more downside, right? That's not a small move for Bitcoin. But you have a lot of support here until then. So we're still bullish. This is really what we've been talking about for days now, that, hey, like, Bitcoin really needs to pull back here. This is not bad. I mean, I think this is honestly healthy. And, I'm looking at buying the dips, honestly. And you have things like Avalanche that, it bounced like 10% earlier. Now it's down about 3% from the high of the day. But, this is one we're paying attention to. It actually dipped like 15% from the high, or actually probably more. So like 20% if you take wick to wick. And we entered a position around like 16 here, and we're looking to add more if it comes lower. I think this is the best opportunity going into the end of the year that I've seen on like in crypto personally, because I think Solana's great. It's up like 7% today. Like, that's obviously, bouncing from the lows. It was down like 20%. So like Avalanche. The difference is Avalanche has a lot of runway left. I mean, if you look at this zoomed out here, it's pretty clear that this has not really even gotten started in the grand scheme of things. I mean, to get to its 25 retracement level, like we talked about last video rather, I mean, this is like 140% move, something like that. Okay, 120% move. Yeah, like, this is a no-brainer for me that this is probably going to creep its way back up there. Maybe all at once in a quick fashion, or maybe it just grinds. But I think it's going there. And we're going to continue to talk about Avalanche. It's my favorite going into the end of the year. And as long as we're in this risk-on environment, these dips are for buying. And then with ETH, it's pretty much doing what we talked about last video. Look, ETH is just setting up for a move higher. I mean, it's just chopping around. We talked about how it's lagging Bitcoin. It's going to bore you to sleep, in my opinion. And we'll zoom in here. It's going to bore you to sleep like it's done over the last few weeks. Chop, 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 rip. Chop, 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 rip. It's just going to do it again, guys. This is why crypto is hard for some people to trade. And it's really one you have to get long and just kind of hold when it does this, because it's not ranging around really that much. I mean, yes, this is technically a range here, but it's more just choppy noise before it wants to go higher, in my opinion. Can it come down to 1950? Of course it can. And that's actually where we'd like it to go. We think that'd be a really nice place for a pullback. But these charts are still very constructive. They're not bearish yet. And I think people are going to miss the boat if they're too cautious. I mean, at some point you have to pull the trigger on some of these coins if you want to partake in this rally. And yes, at some point the music's going to stop, but that's what stop losses are for. You get stopped out, and hey, you played the game. But there's a good chance that that music's going to be playing for a lot longer, or at least when I say a lot longer, weeks, maybe even months. So we're still bullish. You get below that 1950 area on ETH, and then yeah, that's when you want to start to be a little bit more gun shy, in my opinion. Okay, I think that's all I got today, guys. Until next time, happy hunting, friends.
Hey, thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe to our channel if you'd like more updates like this, and let us know in the comments, what do you think about today's video and Defiancy update and insight? Also, make sure that you join our Discord, our free community chat, where we discuss things like this, what's going on in real time. Typically, our Discord community is the first to know what's happening, and we would love to see you there. Check the link in the description. And until then, we'll see you in the next Defiancy Insight video. Bye for now.